another episode of the Donna's podcast. I am like cheesing so hard. You can see my smile. I am so excited that this guest is finally here. Welcome, Sal Vulcano. I mean, buddy, you're here.
We did it. I know that I've been trying to come on for
a hot minute.
6 months, maybe. I don't even know.
Yeah, I can tell you. I'll go through those messages.
But I know. We can. My schedule is so weird and sorry, but I'm excited too.
I'm so excited you're here. I'm so grateful that you're doing this. You so the Donna's podcast, I mean, you know, like we're a women's community and like we're female founded, but it is for everyone. And a lot of the fans and a lot of listeners have been, you know, they're like, you know, all these really cool dudes, get them on. We want to hear about them.
I know. I scanned the Spotify of the podcast and I listened to a couple of like chunks of episodes and like you mostly have women, you know, so I was like, all right, so I'm like a exception right now, maybe.
Yeah, you are a very special person.
You sound so professional too.
Really?
Like when I'm listening to it via audio, it's so like you have an NPR voice.
Thank you for saying that because thank you for saying NPR because I've had people slide into my DMs telling me they fall asleep to my voice and I was like, is that good or bad? And they're like, no, that's good. I had another person tell me that they pleasure themselves to my voice. That was quite an DM to get.
Told you that? A male or female?
A man.
Oh wow! How was that received? Was that like a comment?
I was like, okay. Like I didn't know how to receive it actually, and that's kind of like a way to like that's kind of like we were talking about a little bit offline, like navigating this world, like when you start to get like you know, people see you and notice you. But it was funny because I told a comic who's a good friend of mine, a female, and I said, "Can you believe that?" And of course, like. Well, across the comedian, she goes, I get it all the time. And then she goes, you better hope he jerks off every day and he's longer than 30 seconds because then it counts as a listen. And I was like, that's the most industry response.
That's so funny.
She's like, you better hope he's listening every day. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But thank you. Great. Yeah. Like it's
you have such good diction. Your voice is soothing. It's the polar opposite of my voice, and unfortunately I have to hear my voice like all the time because of podcasts and TV and stuff, and it's one of the things I'm actually a little bit insecure about.
Really?
Yeah, I just sound like I have a sack of marbles in my mouth at all times. Like
no, you
don't. It's like I'm Sal from Staten Island, so I already get stereotyped a lot. And then of course if I'm not really paying attention, my accent can like get a little bit more fast and loose.
Oh, buddy, my accent gets so loose sometimes where I'm like, fuck.
I know. And it's not like I don't want, but I also think it sounds like I just don't like to be like put in a box. And so like, you know, I just try to, you know, but when I'm not paying attention, it's like I'm like probably Fran Drescher.
Oh yeah, me too. And when I'm not drinking right now, but like when I was drinking, like that's how you know, like if you're a friend of mine, that's how you know I'm getting drunk. I have like my two tells are this one eye like literally shuts. Like I look like I'm winking the whole time. And thanks to an injury from my brother pile driving me into a wall when we were kids.
I want to show you something. Can you see my eye right? I don't know if you can see it, but I have a huge red mark in one of my eyes. I think it's this one.
Okay.
This one. Let me see. Can you see it?
Yes, I can see it. I can see it.
Did you? It's huge. It's there.
It's by the eyeball, right?
Yeah. My sister hit me in the face with a Malibu Ken.
Okay, that'll do it.
When I was like when we were really, really young, and his plastic hand just went right into my eye and scarred me there.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I have I have a scar by my eye and it's like a little small. Usually like I kind of fix it with makeup, but yeah, that was my eyeglasses went right into my eye.
That's nuts. I associate it with drinking too because it's not that I was drinking, but everyone thinks my eyes are bloodshot. Like I've been pulled over for a traffic thing and the cops like, have you been drinking?
Makes it worse, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes. It gets more red and blurry and everything.
Yeah. Mine like totally closes when I'm drunk, and like I would like fight with my husband and be like, "I'm not drunk," and he's like, "You're literally eye shut. You're drunk." And he's like, you know, but fun that happened.
You look like one of those dolls. You know, I don't know if they still have these, but
when you hit their head back and forth.
Yeah, and the eye goes. One eye goes like.
That's funny. My brother, that story happened because that was the first time my parents ever left us alone. If you knew what that was like, I know children of today's don't understand that, but we were latchkey kids and left home alone, and that was the first time I was ever left home alone. of course, we fucking beat the shit out of each other the moment the car left the driveway, and really beat the shit out of each other. He drove me into the wall.
What's your age difference?
2 years and 2 months.
Me and my sister is she's 3, I'm 11. It's 2 years, 8 months.
Okay, we're the same day. My brother and I were born on the 12th.
Oh, that's what? Oh,
Wild,
really?
right? Yeah.
Yeah, we are. I'm older than her.
Okay, I'm older than him. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So
and we beat the shit out of each other,
dynamic.
and then same thing. And then he threw me into the wall. I fell back, passed out. I think I woke up. He was over me, and he's like, "Oh shit!" We took my eyeglasses like out of my forehead. I was bleeding, and then that was the moment of bonding when two siblings have to come up with a story.
I understand that.
We were like, "What are we gonna?" So we came up with a story that I tripped over the dog.
We had my sister. Me and my sister used to fight so bad. So when I was in like mid grammar school times, we lived downstairs from my grandparents. So my grandparents lived in this big, like this 2-family house that they lived in for like 60 years. And at some point or another, everyone in my family has like lived downstairs. You know.
Oh, I know.
And that was like the holiday house and all that stuff. And so at the time that we were living downstairs, my mom used to go to work. Me and my sister would get home from school and be home alone. Maybe my grandfather upstairs. You know, my grandma was at work too. So me and my sister used to fight like crazy. And I remember one time
we would like look forward to it, like to beating the shit out of each other.
I know. I don't know how or why like we really fought that much, but my sister was vindictive, man.
Oh yeah.
Like she would take my toys and write her name in them, like in my books. And I'd be like, Mom, Dana has my book, and she's like, and she would open it and go, has her name in it, because she couldn't keep track of whose was like the inventory. And so my sister would I'm like, this is the oldest scam in the book. She just wrote her name in my book. So she would do stuff like that. And one thing my sister did was when I was like mad and trying to say something, she would plug her ears and go, and I would go, stop fucking doing that. It would drive me crazy. But she was so good at it that she would do it to spite. It was probably uncomfortable for her, but she would do it for like 20 minutes. She was torturing me.
Yeah, of course she was. Yeah.
One time I got like, I was like, my mom has to see what really goes down.
Yeah, you need to know who your daughter is.
Yeah. I had this really clunky old cassette recorder that also recorded. I used to put a mic in it and I used to interview people like when I was little.
Oh, wow. You definitely didn't want to do this your whole life.
Huh? I know, right? And so it would record like the open air. So what I did was she was in the room and she was being real mean. And I think she might have even cursed. And I was like, I gotta catch this. So what I did was I snuck right outside the doorway, like right behind it, so like she wouldn't see me. And I hit record and I stuck my hand like in the doorway but low. And I was like, why don't you repeat what you just said? You know, like Dana. And I guess she saw it and didn't alert me to it. And then I was holding it. And then all of a sudden, it just wasn't in my hand anymore. She punted that shit. It broke into a million pieces. I had it in my hand. And then all of a sudden, she just kicked it like I was a placeholder for football. She kicked it, hit the wall, shattered into a million pieces. And then she got so enraged that I was doing that, that she came out. She was like, ah, right? My grandpa, we were upstairs at the time. My grandpa, excuse me if I'm running running.
No, I love this. Are you kidding me? You think any other podcast is getting Sal Vulcano childhood stories? Go fuck yourself, everybody. Go, Joe Rogan. Go ahead.
No, I don't even remember if I've ever even told the story ever. But my grandpa was retired. He was in the military and he could fix cars and he could build a house. And he was like that. So he used to have these 3 dogs, right? So he made these little wooden like out of like plywood, these little slots that essentially would fit and slide down and be like a gate, not so the dogs couldn't get in and out of rooms.
Okay.
So it was like picture almost like
why go to Caldor and get a gate, right? I mean, all Italian men are gonna make their own.
He made a stationary bike. He like invented an apparatus where you put an actual bike on this like
my grandfather had something like this. He made a stand out of like wood.
Yes, it was out of metal, but yeah, he used to do that stuff. And so he made these slots, almost picture like a guillotine. Like you would put it in the door jamb and there was like these 2 things and it would slide down and lock into place. And it was like maybe a 1.5 2 foot piece of plywood that the dogs couldn't get from room to room. So she kicked it, she ran out and she was like, ah! And I saw a look in her eyes like I probably only saw like once or twice in my life. And she took the plywood out of the door and she started running toward me with it up in the air.
Oh, she was gonna kill you.
She wasn't thinking. She snapped because even when we fought, she would never pick up a weapon that could actually hurt me. And I saw a look in her eyes, and she was wielding the 2x4, and it was a railroad house, and I ran through every room until I got to the living room, and there was nowhere else to go. And she was running at me screaming, and I turned, and I'll never forget this. I said, Dana! And I just looked her in the face. I was like, look at what you're doing. And then as she was running, I guess she like, I don't know if she was hit me like that, but she just threw it. And it went flying like circle endo run, and it hit me in the shins. And I went down hard. That's one of the, another time she pushed me down a flight of steps at my aunt's house. And the steps would be like a long flight, and then they went right. So at the bottom, there was a wall. And in the 80s, stucco was big.
Oh, yeah, it was.
And it was a stucco wall, and she pushed me down. I tumbled all the way down. I had just went on a class trip to Wild West City. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yes,
but do you know the city's running wild? Yes. It was like an old West.
We're so old.
It was like an old West theme park for kids, and you used to take like a stagecoach ride, and they would rob it. Like they would like role play and rob you as a child at gun.
And you wonder why we're working through all these traumas.
I know. They rob you at gunpoint. I swear to God, they pulled up on horses and handkerchiefs and got out, and they put a gun and they took everything. And then you I think you saved the day later, but like they rob you at gunpoint. I went to grades K through 3, right? So I came home with this like straw cowboy hat that had a band on it, said Wild West City. It was it was slated to be my prized possession.
Of course.
And I had it on. I was at my aunt's house. She pushed me from behind. I went down the steps. The hat broke and went around my neck like in the cartoon.
Oh, shit.
And when I hit the bottom, my arm went into the stucco wall and like got stuck in the. I pulled it out.
And
I had like.
You definitely got an ass beating for fucking up the wall, right?
No, the wall didn't get fucked up. Actually, she got in a lot of trouble there.
Oh, really? Because she was at a relative's house.
I mean, I was close to dying. I went down a full flight, head over heels.
And this was also at someone else's house, right?
At my aunt's, yeah.
So embarrassing the family at someone else's house, not a thing. We do this.
No.
You want to be animals? You do it in, our house.
Yeah, so those are two. I don't know how we got there, but those are two of the most scary times I ever had with assault from my sister.
Yeah, my brother and I used to go at each other pretty hard, and he used to because the thing is, I think as an older sister, like I used to really, and I see this with my niece and my nephew right now, because my niece is a lot like me, and she's tormenting the shit out of my nephew, and I'm just sitting there like the day that he realizes he can beat the shit out of you, and like you're in for it, Erin. Because I remember I used to torment, same stuff to my brother. I would torment him, I would do whatever, and then the one day when my brother just was like, that's it. Like, I was like, shit, he can kick my ass. Like, yeah, like it really, it was an awakening. I'll tell you that.
Yes.
So that was nice. Thank you for telling me that story. It's like a little trip down memory lane. Yeah, but it's like talking about like traumas and why we're in therapy. Like you guys sent us to a place that robbed us. That was the school trip.
I never made the connection that they're robbing children at gunpoint. That I might have to try to crack that open and do a story on stage.
Yeah, that is a whole situation. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you wonder why we're like this. Like, yeah. Like you had to sign a permission slip to get robbed at guns. Like
you did. You had to sign a permission slip. I know. And we wanted to. You can get robbed two places: the train or the stagecoach. And I would get robbed at both.
Of course.
Like I would look forward to it every year. I was like, I cannot wait till that man puts that gun to my temple.
I mean, the 80s were a wild time. You know what I mean? Like we were talking about this the other day. A friend of mine, and she was like, do you remember the shit we used to eat in microwave? Like, remember when microwaves and she's like, the shit we ate, we would not feed. She's like, I feed my dog better food now.
I know.
She's like, remember, and we were talking about, remember the White Castle microwavable hamburgers?
Yes, although I will say I never messed with those.
Okay, so we got
until
those
later. Yeah.
That was a treat. But when we were this was like in the 90s, the thing to make them taste better was you took a paper towel, wet it, wrap them in this is like a trick we figured out. You wrap them in the paper towel and then microwave that. So my friend was like, she was like, not only were we eating microwavable White Castle burgers, we were wrapping them in paper towels and eating them.
The Hungry Man, the TV dinners, when I was little.
I thought that was like a treat. I wanted that shit because they were expensive.
They were, but that fried chicken.
Nothing hits like that Hungry Man fried chicken.
I love to this day, even though I like good food and fine
Mhm.
foods,
Oh,
I
I love
have an
good trash
affinity
food.
um instant mashed potatoes. I think tastes better than any mashed potato you could
I
cook.
love instant mashed potatoes too. They have them at the hospital cafeteria. It's my vice. I go down there. The guy already knows. I do not even put that gravy in that thing. I want a separate cup of gravy. Like, I mean, if you give me like some shake and bake and some rice-a-roni,
Yeah,
I'm home. You know what I mean? Like,
I
as much as
know.
like I've eaten that's with some of the best chefs and the best restaurants all over, I like,
Yes.
you give me a shake and bake pork chop, rice-a-roni,
So good, right?
so good.
Oh, and the TV dinner, that brownie, because sometimes they throw a curve and you get like this
That
cranberry.
or that apple, that shitty apple pie.
I didn't want it. It was the
I didn't want
brownie
it.
all
The
the
brownie
way.
hit, and then I
Yeah.
used to like how the TV dinner mashed potatoes had that like fake yellow spot, what was supposed to be butter. Yeah,
Yes.
those
Oh,
and they used to get like a little film across the top in the
yeah,
oven.
I know. I might want to get one just for the heck of it. I
Yeah,
probably would eat it and just throw up, but
yeah,
like
of course,
I
because it's
wonder
so
what
big.
the nutrition facts are on that thing. It cannot be good.
Even the
It's got to
corn,
be like,
even the corn tasted good.
yeah, I
The
know it was
corn
so
hit.
good.
It
It's
was
still
so
a
good.
thing, right? Is it still a thing?
I definitely think they're still a
It's
thing.
got to be, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think they're
It's a
still. I think they have.
complete meal in one. It's a one-stop shop.
I mean, I probably need 3 of them now to get full too. You
I'm
know,
not joking. I'm gonna try and get one and I'll text you
please
and tell
let
you
me know. Yeah, let
how
me
it
know
went.
how it
Yeah.
goes. So just kind of like, I know you're a big nostalgia person like me, and kind of touching upon that, and just like is it like crazy to you to like think of like talking about these like stories of like how your sister used to beat the shit out of you, we're eating TV dinners, and now like where you are now, like you are like you're a fucking celebrity, dude. Like, what is that like? Like,
It's
what's that like to process in your head?
it's really weird. I even don't really say like think or say I'm a celebrity, although I guess at this point, after being in the public for this long, people like, when I think of celebrity, I think of like, movie stars and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a different life than I expected it, and especially coming from someone who's like really private, it's different. But
Yeah.
I still every single day, every moment of every single day, I don't believe it.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm on the outside looking in. Like I just, because my days are normal. They're just my days, like they
Yeah.
always were. I'm the same. I have the same hangups, the same likes and dislikes,
Still
the
hate
same
your voice.
friends,
Like we talked
same
about this.
same everything. Like I mean, I have to imagine, because when you're little, or like when you're like when I wasn't in this position, I always like we tend to romanticize celebrity. I don't think we should. I don't think to me it's not like that, but like people do. And when you're little, you see these movie stars, and it's like, are they like us? Like, what are they cooking? Are they paying bills? Are they going to the
Are they
store? Like,
fighting with their wife at
are they
Target?
right? But it's like nothing really changed except that people know me more,
Hmm.
and that I have a little security now, where I
Hmm.
never really did. I didn't come from money, or I didn't really come from anything like that, and so I never really knew
Yeah, you
if I
said
would be
like
able to.
your parents worked like multiple jobs. Your mom did like extra stuff on the side to make, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like you get
yeah.
a very humble upbringing.
My dad was a New York City sanitation worker,
Hmm.
but he also was the superintendent of the apartments that we lived in,
Right.
and he also was like a carpenter. He did a lot of jobs. And then my mom, I was home with her, and then she was also like a secretary, and she worked at the building department as an
Hmm.
expediter for a little while, but like little odd jobs part time, but mostly like I was just home with her. So yeah, so like
So,
I
like
don't know,
always
like I never
grinding, like
really.
always like looking for, and I kind of grew up in a similar thing where like I think a lot of times people will say to me, they're like, you do so much. But like I did have this like and sometimes I'm trying to detach from it a little, but as an adult, and like, but it is this ingrainment of like you got to keep going because you don't know like when it's going to end. And like even at this level you're at right now, like yeah, you're where like tons of people would want to be, but like in the back of your mind you're like, can I take a day off? Like, I don't want it to slip away. Like, how do you balance that?
I'm still learning to. It
Okay.
just could depend on my mood. I think sometimes, like, some this is the minority of the time that I am just feel well adjusted and calm,
Uh-huh.
and can accept things as they are, and like have a little clarity.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I have anxiety, and I feel the same way that I feel that I've been like rooted in growing up, the same way you just mentioned.
Hmm.
Like I just feel like enough is never enough, because it could all go away any second.
Right.
And then also I want to make enough and save enough for not just me, but every single person in my family if I could,
To take care of
I don't
everybody.
to take care of everybody, because I don't know what comes our way and who would have hardships or health issues, or I don't want anyone in my family to struggle. Like, I don't need to live so affluently that I can't help everyone else in my family. Like, I don't want anyone to be struggling if I'm not. So I think anyone would really feel that way. But that kind of feeling and drive, and the fact that I could never anticipate the success that I had, and it still doesn't feel, I'm just so grateful and thankful every day. Like, I take inventory of it every day. So it's, you have to learn how to say no too, because I drive myself into the ground sometimes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, between touring with the guys and then touring myself, and then writing material for stage with the guys, and then constantly going and getting up myself, and then the good fortune of the show and the few spin-offs we've had from those shows. Like, sometimes I have like 6 or 7 jobs going at once. I would never really change anything. I can't believe it, but that's only because I feel like, you know, and we talked about this a little earlier, like with TV is so fickle, and entertainment and celebrity and who people like and dislike now changes on a whim, and the way that people like, just,
and the power of the internet and the curse of the internet.
Yeah, exactly right. And so, like, I don't want to take anything for granted. So, like, it's hard to, like, I also am like, wait, you're gonna pay me what? And even if it's not like, even if it's like, let's say I establish a precedent of like what I would do for this amount, like even what they pay me for an episode or what I would get paid for a show. Like, even if sometimes I get offered something less than that, it's still more than anyone deserves. And I can't, and I know that. And so it's like hard for me to be like, so I could take a day off, and, you know, and you have to force yourself to take a mental health day sometimes.
You have to,
but
because also as a creative, like, and you know, as a creative, you go, 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 go. And like you're saying, all the things that you like aspired and wanted are now jobs. So then you have to find that little thing that isn't the job that also fuels the creativity.
Yes. So,
and you need to detach and like fuck off. Like I'm one of the ones who needs to like fuck off to find creativity. And kind of like float around, but it's like the busier I get, I don't have time to float around.
Yeah, and most of my my ideas just come to me when they come to me, and I have to just write them down. If I sit down to try to think of ideas, it usually doesn't happen unless I'm like smoking or anything, something like that.
Yeah, but it's like conversational. Like we were talking before, and like you were like, this, I need to explore this now. Like talking about your sister.
Conversational, or just like I'm a newly founded like a marijuana a little bit, so like I never did my whole life, but sometimes like I'll smoke and I'll get some great ideas, or like it's when I'm going to lay down for bed and I'm trying to fall asleep, or like when I wake up and I'm waiting to like get out of bed is when I get all my ideas, or like driving or in the shower, like just
driving. I'm a total shower. Like I even today when I was in the shower, I was like coming up with questions to ask you, and like my husband was in the bathroom, and I'm like, write these down. And he's like, no. And I'm like, I write so much shit down for you. And then we had like a fight. But I was like, and he's like, fine. And I literally have his text right here.
Oh, that's great.
Because he texted to me. He's like, he goes, I'm texting. He actually said, I'm texting it to you because now you'll finally read a text I sent you. That was his, of course he had to get in his dig. But yeah, like balancing all this. And then I guess, then the other thing is too, like, as you get, like you're saying, oh, they're paying me like so much money to do this, but what people don't see, like, I think a lot of times, like being in, for me anyway, like an adjacent to this industry, I do get to see like the stuff that people don't get to see. And I'm not so in it where I'm the entertainment, but I'm like, you know what I mean? Seeing it a little bit more closer, like, you know, the behind the curtain. People don't realize how many, like, yes, you know, actor so-and-so may get 10 million for a movie, but how many people are eating off of that 10 million, you know, so-and-so's getting 10%, so-and-so's getting 20%. Like people, and I think Eddie Murphy did it one time where he was like, how can you make $1 million on a special and have no money? I'm going to show you. And he broke it down and he goes, well, first off, that $1 million is now $500,000 because of the tax bracket I'm in. He's like, then my lawyer gets 20%. Then so-and-so gets 10%. Then he's like, then the friend you haven't talked to in 22 years who knows some shit about you comes out the woodwork and they get 5%. He's like,
that part is wild too. But well, between like, well, you know, between the government. And then like we have agents and managers and lawyers and public relations people.
And you want to make more and more because you're like, wow, so many, and like your crew and your production.
And I didn't know, but you need all these things. I didn't know that as I went along. I learned everything. So I didn't like you kind of really do need a manager. People debate it, but I have really good people that I trust and love that are like family, and even my like couple of my like agents. So they really do help guide me, and like it has gotten so big that I lean on them. I need their expertise. So you have to pay these people, right?
Yeah, but then
So
also
it's like,
you're in this like caveat of like, yeah, I'm working so hard, but it's like as it gets bigger and bigger, so many people are depending on you that you're like, well, Katie on set, I don't want to
well,
fuck up her life. I gotta work, and it's
that's
like,
another thing. How we make decisions too is also like, well, we always say that it's like, well, the whole crew is depending on us, like,
yeah.
so let's take the job, or let's do more episodes, or let's go back to work, or let's whatever comes down the pike. We're always saying like, well, what about the crew? What about the crew?
And that's a huge responsibility.
And that's actually the most rewarding thing, actually.
Oh wow, that's a really
Yeah,
good.
it's unbelievable to be able to give people work, even other comics. Like if I go on the road and take a comic with me, or the guys and I go on the road on tour, or we do this cruise, and I get to like book comics, to give comics work and to give the staff work. And a lot of the people on our staff, and I've mentioned this before in the past, but a good decent handful, like maybe 5, 6, 7 people were our friends before any of this, that either were aspiring or comedians or writers or filmmakers or camera people, or just funny friends that we knew, that we believed in. And then when we got this job, we put them all in these roles, and now they've been in these roles for 5, 8, 10 years with us. And it's literally our friends from like the neighborhood that know our sensibilities, or that we believe could learn a job, and they did. And some of them had no prior experience. There's a writer on our show right now that never wrote for anything before this, and just was my funny friend who's really smart. And I was like, you can do this. And he's an amazing writer. So it's like those things have been the most rewarding. Our director of photography is my friend Jeff, who was an aspiring filmmaker, who he did stuff with me for free, just to help me.
Yeah, I've been there. I know. I was that friend doing all the photography.
And our buddy, like another guy, Mike Plano, one of our camera guys, he filmed the first sketch we ever filmed in 1999. He's Joe's cousin, and it was the 4 of us and him in the woods, in the snow, filming like an army parody sketch, shivering, freezing, and he had a little bit of like knowledge of cameras, and he was everything. It was the 4 of us and him, and he's working on the show for 10 years now. So it's like, it's just, that has been the most unforeseen just benefit that like has just been the most rewarding thing, really. Like,
yeah, it is really nice to like, I'm in a position right now where I'm starting to be able to give friends work, or kind of parlaying, like, I guess my people, looking at me for like suggestions, or using your notoriety, I guess, to be like, hey, look at this person. It's it's nice to help pave the path. It's like, because that's the thing, right? Like, I'm a huge believer in once you open the door, like, and you go through it, like, leave it open for somebody else.
Oh God, yeah.
A lot of people close it. They're like, okay, I'm here, I'm fine. You know what I mean? But it's like, you gotta bring.
I'm always trying to like pump out like in my Instagram and Twitter, it's probably 75% me promoting other comics, because I just, I have these people follow me, and I learn that they like appreciate my opinion. Yeah. And so I try to turn, we all should do that for each other. We do it, but I try to turn them on to, all my friends, as much as I can.
And you went from you owned a bar in Staten Island, right?
Yeah.
So you went from owning a bar in Staten Island, right?
Yeah.
To like being literally a household name. And I will tell you this as a nurse, and this is how, like, so for people who, if you don't know Sal, first off, like, what the fuck? But it's like,
many people don't.
If you do, your reach to me is so interesting and really admirable, because as a nurse in the hospital, I remember like taking care of patients, and they come out of like surgery, or they like, stuff would happen. And a friend of mine even said this too, which is funny. She's an ICU nurse, and she's like, it's so funny, because she's like, when I remember patients would come out and they'd be 65 years old, and they'd be like, what do you want to watch? And they'd be like, oh, put the Impractical Jokers on. She's like, and then you'd have like a 22-year-old who came out of heart surgery, and they'd be like, put the Impractical Jokers on. And it's like, your reach is so vast.
It is so wild. That's another unexpected thing. We started this basic cable. True TV was like transitioning from core TV. They had all these like really contrived fake reality shows on. We were the only straight comedy. We were the only non-reality show, and we didn't know what to expect. We didn't even know that it would turn into this. We didn't know that it would be it ended up being a very refreshing change on that network.
Yeah.
And then they the response was such that they decided to shift the kind of the MO, the identity of the network to comedy. And we led that, and they were open about that to us, and I couldn't believe that. And everything that came after that was in the vein of comedy. And yeah, you just didn't believe it. And even in the beginning, the show has come a long way. In the beginning, we didn't have as much creative control.
Okay.
And actually, the guy that was running the network was very much a micromanager at the time.
Okay.
And it was like, that's the death of comedy, as we all know, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so in the beginning, they wanted like
or when they bring you on because of what you're known, and they're like, let's do this or that, and then you're like, this isn't even what we came here with.
I get it. I mean, we're no ones are investing a lot of money in us, and they want to curate it and nurture it in a way that they think is best. But ultimately, and with success, that changes, because then we get a little more creative control, and then it ends up shaking out to closer to what we wanted with our vision. So the show now is, I mean, way closer to, because now, knock on wood, and a credit to the people that run it now and how they've handled it. But now we really they let us kind of run the ship. And if you look at season 1, I cringe at season 1 now. I don't want to shit on it, because it is what people responded to, that it started the momentum. But the show is very different. It's like right now we'll do 3 bits for the whole show, because we want them to breathe, and we want to interact with people, and we want it to be about the mood and the setting and the ups and downs, like a whole breadth of conversation with someone. In the beginning, it was like, say a funny line, cut, another funny line, cut, another funny line, cut. And it was just like this whole and it just didn't let the comedy breathe. And they wanted so much more content. We put 5 bits in an episode instead of 3. That's wild, because now we have trouble fitting in 3. Because a half hour of television is really 22 minutes of television.
Right.
And then 3 bits is only like 7 minutes a bit. And there's 4 of us, and we all have to go. So in every bit, we get like 2 minutes each. And sometimes a bit, so there's this whole there's this whole science,
like a formula. You had to
building out the perfect episode, and the pacing and the cadence. And in the beginning, we didn't have that. And they would push like a lot of stings on us, and like slide whistles and quick cuts, and all these little tricks, these editing tricks that you'll see in these, I love these talking head shows, or these reality shows, and it's like contrived comedy. And we're like, we don't need that. Like just let us be one-on-one, and let the situation bring the comedy, So we got to that more. So I watched the early ones, and I don't love them, but I understand that that's what got us here.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
and it's a process, and it's growth, right? And it's not, it's nice that you say that, because it's like, some people may have just stayed with what got them famous, right? Or got them the hook and kind of delivered the same thing and didn't evolve. But there also is there's 2 things there, where it's like taking the chance of one being like, hey, I mean, talking back to a network, right? Or like pushing back and being like, no, that's a huge thing to do, right? That's a huge risk, because anyone else is like, well, there's a check over there and a lot of money that we never thought we'd ever see. Let's just shut up and take it.
Yeah. In the beginning, it's all like that, because you're no one, and you have to walk a fine line, because they could just cut you. But again, with success and with a proven track record, they respect you more, give you a little more freedom. And now the conversations that we have with people are different.
And then your confidence also, grows. And it's nice to be able to look back and see your own personal evolution. And for someone like you, it's been documented, which is, I mean, that's probably terrifying and nice at the same time.
I know I had a point. What was the question I was coming off of? Because
how you own the bar in Staten Island?
Oh yeah.
We're talking about that. Like, I guess my thing is like, people see you all over the world, right? And like everyone's like, "Oh my God, Sal."
That's right. It was like 65 and 22-year-olds that we can never imagine it. Like in the beginning, what I was mentioning was like the show was a little more sophomoric, and it was a little more blue also. And we were just starting, and it wasn't long before we realized like that we can't keep going to this well. It's low-hanging fruit. It's easy, and we were like, we don't want to be too blue. We don't want to be too much toilet humor. Maybe a joke an episode. That's it. But we want to strive for odd, and kind of we strive for like confusion or bewilderment or amusement. We just like putting ourselves in surreal situations. And we like I don't know, like the conversations we have. I like strange. I like odd. I like people to wonder. I want to see people's brain on their face. Like I want to be like, wait, like, is this real? Is it not? This is, I like confusing people. Like that's the comedy I like. So we started going there, and then because that's a little more broad and a little less just like easy. I think more people, started to respond to it, like age wise.
Yeah.
Because it became, and it was still silly. There's everything. We try to really mix like physical comedy in as well. We try to take all of our influences and kind of, let our like personalities be in the forefront, but then just make sure we like the show is really, we learned that it was for everyone. And then when we started to learn that it was for everyone, we started to approach it like it was for everyone. And so the response,
how do you approach
art imitates life, and the response that we got and making us tailor the show to the people who were responding to the show, but still trying to remain true to ourselves. And then with that, I think that more people responded. And that's why we see a 5-year-old, someone will come and go, a 30-year-old person will come and go, my God, my mom won't shut the show off. But then a 30-year-old person will go, would you do one favor? My 7-year-old is in the store. Would you just say hello? And then, 2 25-year-olds would be like, it's all we do. It's what was our first date. We came to see you live or whatever. So, and we're like, why are all these people liking it? And I just think it's like, I don't know. Like, I think that we're friends for 30 years. That comes through.
Right. You can't script that.
Hopefully that's like a secret sauce. And then we play the game. We stay true to it. We're writing and editing and producing it as we play, but we also leave everything I know that when I'm in a scene, I know that I'm looking for comedy, and I know that I'm producing this. And so I'm thinking big picture, but I also have to let all that go and respond as me, the civilian that I've lived with my whole life, because that's what people are relating to. Right. So, we talk about, like, a lot of people just like, so, I notice a criticism of the show where people that don't know the show often just tend to put it in a bucket. And we do that. When we don't know something, you categorize it and you put it into what this is. And here are these 4 middle-aged, white, straight guys, these New York guys, and we're on. Some people say it's reality TV when it's not. You know what I mean? They say like, and it's on True, and True had a little bit of a stigma in the beginning, because when we got there, it was like a lot of trash television, and. So people that don't know it just think, or again, if you catch, it's not for everyone. And of course, I feel like there's moments that respond to me really well that I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened, or that unfolded, or that was brilliant. I can acknowledge that something is really funny. There's a majority of stuff I hate. I'm like, that's an easy joke. That's a hack joke. This is lame. We've made this joke before. I hate this cut. I hate that. So I don't watch it. All right. So I can't watch it because I focus on the things I can change only, and not the things that I really like. But so people might tune in and see a comedy snob might tune in and see something from the beginning and be like, oh, this is lame. They judge us from one episode or one challenge. But if you kind of give it a chance to see where the show has gone and the different things that we've done, like, once you get invested, I think people would appreciate it a little bit more, So I think, that's why I think a lot of people like it. There's like the kids like the slapstick of it. They like our personalities. They see laughter as addicting.
It's addicting. And it's like, I'm in this kind of space, like you said something before about like realizing it was for everyone. I'm kind of in this space right now, like, and we talked before we got on the podcast, like, this is really this project that I started with women. It started with women in food, and now it's kind of taken this natural progression. Like, we're doing like moon ceremonies and tarot card readings online, and we're still doing food, and now it was like women, and then a lot of men were kind of coming, being like, oh, what are you about? And like, a lot of people were, in the beginning, I could have been like, oh no, this is a woman's project, but it's like, well, no, we have all these men who are interested, and like, how do we're never going to get allies, and you can't educate people, and if you tell them no, you can't come in the room. You know what I mean? So I kind of had to like figure out this way of being like, wow, this project is for everyone. It's kind of based in this like female narrative, and like, you know what I mean, promoting women and kind of like telling the story of a lot of women in like small business and the restaurant world and things like that. But yeah, it is like to see the progression and see it in front of you, because like I'll go through my Instagram and I'm like, oh, that's where we kind of like,
isn't it wild?
People.
You just gotta go where it takes you.
And but I think I think that's so not how we're supposed to be from society, because people, like you said, they want to put you in a bucket. They want to be like, oh, they're this. And it's like, yeah, we're like, sometimes it's like everybody wants you to grow, but then sometimes when you grow, people are like, oh, you know what I mean? It's like you kind of can't win at times.
Yeah, I know.
And it's funny because like, You are so humble. And like, we're going to like talk about, because you've never used, the only time I've ever seen you use your celebrity, which we're going to talk about,
Okay,
is in the funniest situation. But
Okay.
like, you are so humble. And it's like saying like all these people, like an 80-year-old to a 30-year-old to a 7-year-old, like adores you. But then it's like, you're a Staten Island dude, right? So it's like going back to Staten Island, there is no way they're letting you even embrace your celebrity. Like, I know this. Like, it's like it's funny because I was like talking to Alexis this morning. I'm like, I'm going to interview Sal, blah, blah, blah. And you know, we were like talking like how humble you are and stuff. And he's like, yeah, he's like, that's the good thing about like where people like me, Sal, and you are from. He's like Sal will go into like the bagel shop in Staten Island and be like, can I get a bacon, egg, and cheese? And they'll be like, oh, better get that famous bacon. He's in here. Like he's like, that's the good thing about like how we grew up.
When like, people, even when they do the opposite, when they're like, "Oh, that's on the house or something," I'm like,
yeah,
"No,
let me pay."
No, I like don't like do that. I'm here to support. Like, what are you doing? I could pay for the fucking sandwich.
But that same thing that like I think held us back a little in like how we grew up, right? Because you were saying like we were talking about manifesting and stuff like that before. You were a little kid walking around with a microphone interviewing people. Like you wanted to do this, but in the place that we grew up, like the dad working 3 jobs, the stay-at-home mom was also like hustling, you know, in with the town job here and there, like, you know, watching other people's kids. Like I know how I grew up. I know how you grew up. This shit wasn't encouraged. It wasn't encouraged to go follow your dreams.
Yeah, it just was
like what can you do with your hands? Like I remember when I started like studying business and I went to college for business, they were like, what are you going to do with that? Like we can't see business.
Yeah, I actually have a degree in finance.
Do you really?
Yeah, because I chose that when I'm 17 when I didn't know what I wanted to do, and literally this is how I chose it. I'm like I don't know what business can I get in that I would make money, and I was like, finance means money. So I chose. I'm not joking, dude. I like chose finance because I was like, I want to be successful. I want to support myself, and I want to make money. Like, so I'll go into finance.
Yeah, like you said, like when you were little, you went into a person's house who like you really like were like, wow, they live in a great place, and you're like, I want that for myself one day. Yes. And even me as a kid, like I used to see these people like, you know, these women who were like dressed so well and looked all put together. And, you know, then I'd see my mom like, you know, raising 2 kids, like with a fucking husband with his own issues. And, you know, and I'm like, I want to look like that woman. And it's like, oh, well, she's in business. You know what I mean? And you kind of like, it's weird how these things, like what you think you can have because you need to have that in order, you know? And so like the humbling of it, like, was this also like a blessing and a curse? Because yeah, like, bro, I know for a fact you're never going to get, because everyone in your own family is going to give you shit if you ever try to have an ego. Like,
oh no, well, I would never have an ego. I didn't have one before this, and I will never have one. I'm really thankful about that. No, I mean, we all have an ego, but like,
I think partly how we grew up won't allow us to have an ego.
Yeah, like I just don't think it's. I don't know what an ego does except get in the way. Like I don't.
Yeah, it's true.
I've been around enough people. I think I'm a people person. You know, my job before this was dealing with people. A job of a comedian is to read and room and deal with people. And I love people. And I don't know. I just have seen too many instances where ego gets in the way of things, and it's just.
It really, really does. You know, that is so well said.
It's kind of an ugly thing. It's a pride thing. I don't know. I mean, like, it's good to have a little ego sometimes. Maybe you can help, like, to not be a pushover too, because I struggled maybe the opposite way to try not to be like, I won't be a pushover, but like
learning how to say no, or learning to be like, I need my time, I need a break. Like we were talking about before.
Yeah, I don't think that's an ego thing, but I am a people pleaser, you know. I don't like to turn down opportunity, and I want everyone to be happy. I want to make everyone happy all the time. Like that's like maybe why I wanted to be a comic. I don't even know, but like
what was it like to go transition into being a comic? Like, because you already had fame and then kind of went and started. Yeah, so that's got to be a lot of pressure, no?
It was a lot because I wanted to be a comedian since I'm a little kid. And I just didn't see it feasible. I'm from Staten Island. I have no connections. I wasn't until I was 17 that I started doing like improv and sketch comedy. Then I started writing and making short films, but it was all very rudimentary. And I never really thought of it as feasible. I always thought I would do it on the side because it was a creative outlet. And then I got my finance degree, and then I started working at Prudential Securities for 4 or 5 years out of college. And I was working as a business systems analyst for mutual funds and the trading systems. I never liked it. And I think I was having like a little existential crisis because I had a degree, I had a good job, I got promoted. I was making a good salary for my age, and I knew that I didn't want to do it because I needed to be in control, and I needed to do something that at least had exercised some creativity. And so I started to bartend in order to um, do comedy. I left the job and I started bartending to do comedy and to just see if I liked the hospitality business.
Okay.
And my goal was to learn everything I could while still doing comedy. And then if the comedy didn't necessarily go anywhere, which I wasn't necessarily pushing for that, that I would learn the insides and outsides and I'd open a bar and then I could be creative with the bar and how I wanted to cultivate it and curate it
So
and
kind
things
of
like that.
taking a risk with a safety net a little bit kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of both, right?
Yeah.
And then and so that was better because I felt like I was doing something that I really liked, and so I could thrive when I'm doing something. I didn't like the other job, and so I always try to do the best I can. So that was still happening, but I didn't like it.
Okay.
And then the bar I liked, but the bar was way less secure, right? I was off the books. I had no health insurance. I did that for a decade.
Damn.
So in that way. And then when I was turning like, like 33, 34, I was like, I can't lean on this forever. So maybe I'll look into buying a bar so I can like actually run the business so I could get health insurance and be on the books and be on the up and up. Because if I want to buy a home one day and have a family, I don't know if I could just be living off the books with no health insurance. So
Right.
So I did that. And what was crazy is I got this good fortune that I bought the bar. I bought into a bar after like 8 years of that one. And like 1 or 2 months later, I got the TV show at the same time. And, both of them required 100% of your attention.
Yeah, you own a bar.
You business 24/7. You want to be a comic? You want to be on TV? I mean, you won the lottery. You got to make it 24/7.
You're in the NBA. Like, let's go.
So I took a deep breath and I was like, how am I going to do this? I got really nervous because I put my savings into the bar. I put my and I didn't want the show to fail because I cannot believe I got a show on the air. So what am I going to do? So I got really nervous and I didn't know how I would make it work. And I had lost one of my closest friends just right at that time. Literally one of my best friends in the world, right? So this was in January 2011. Right after we filmed a pilot, and right after I opened the bar, and I lost him. He got to see the pilot, and he got to know that I opened the bar, and I lost him. And he was a guy that went through cancer. He went through like diverticulitis. He had his intestines removed. He had so many medical issues, and he never complained. I'll get a little emotional.
You're all right. I'm sorry.
No, I'm good. I never speak about him like this. So this is like I don't know. I never speak about him. He was my best friend. I lost him. So he never complained, and like thinking of that gave me the strength to do both of those things at that time. If I didn't lose him, I don't know if I'd be as successful in what I did, because I was like, I have to do these things and not complain and just get up every day and do it. And just that's my new reality. I just have to accept it. And so for the first like 2 years, I would get up and I would, film the show every day from like, 8, 9 in the morning till 5, 6, 7 at night. I go straight to the bar, and then I work at the bar till like 4 in the morning. And I did that like 4 or 5 days a week. For like a couple of years. When the show was on the air for the first 2 seasons, I was working, which is another weird experience, because you talk about like Staten Islanders and like people. It would be so funny because like my friends would come in and I'd be working the nights that the show was on the air. And they'd be like, "Oh, could you put it on? Yeah, could you put it on the television?" I'd be like, "I feel so fucking weird doing that." So, because I'm like kind of like shy too a little bit and stuff. So,
what is your birthday, if you don't mind me asking?
On November 6th.
You're a Scorpio?
Yeah. So
that's why you like secrets and you like
is that right? I don't know.
Yeah, oh yeah, buddy.
Yeah. But people would be like, oh, like, so my friends would be like, put it on. So I put it on, and like they would like it. But then other people at the bar would be like, oh yeah, that's you, cool. Get me a fucking vodka tonic. And I'd be like, yes, sorry,
Yeah, where the fuck is my beer?
It was like really, really hard. It was like one of the hardest I've ever, like, it was just really hard to navigate, because I was also like at the same time trying to understand a business that I put my life savings into that had a lot of liabilities.
And no one's taking your hand and being like, this is the way it's done. Like you said, you had to learn so much about
it. Not really. I just learned whatever I could at the bar that I was managing, and I took that knowledge over there.
It was like the entertainment industry no one gives you a handbook and says, this is how you do it.
No. And then the show, when we started the show, was the same thing. We had 6 people on staff. We have 50, 60 people now, but we didn't know how to do it. And we didn't have as big a budget. And we were calling for our own location. I did every single role of the show in the beginning. We produced it, edited it, wrote it, started it, cold called, got the locations.
But no one like mentors you and says, I've made a successful TV show. Let me tell you the way.
We just learned as we went, and I learned at the bar as I went. And so both of those things were happening at the same exact time. And the bar was like winning the lottery, and I didn't want to mess that up. And in the bar, I put most of my life savings into, and I didn't want to mess that up. And I couldn't get out of the bar because I just put the money into it, and I can't get out of the show because I just got it. So I had to learn both ways and navigate that. And it was a really tough time. And it was like my buddy who I just found strength in him. So it was rough, and but I don't know. So it was only after 2 years that I made the leap.
And you left.
They renewed the show for season 3. And I was like, maybe I can make this my job, and I could always fall back. And I was like, I could even fall back on my degree and everything. And so I finally made that leap. But I wanted to be
you're in your mid 30s at this point now.
Yeah. But I wanted to be a comic since I was a kid, and I just didn't think that it was an option for me. And as luck would have it, it was just persistence. It was just persistence. And when the opportunity, we had many opportunities fail before this show. That's another thing that like I don't really like. We had like 4 or 5 shows that we tried that failed. Like we got a pilot and they never picked it up. But
so you can see why you were very reluctant to let go of that bar, because you're like, when you've experienced that, you're like, yeah, buddy, I've heard this 10 times that I'm gonna, this is gonna take off. Like, no, you're trying to create a safety net too at the same time.
Oh God, yeah. And it's just so then I finally took the leap. But like as a kid, I was like, well, how do you buy a house? Like because houses were like hundreds of thousands, and like I never could really wrap my head around this. But like obviously you put like 5-10% down and you pay a little bit, but then like God forbid something happens and you run out, and then you lose your home. So in my head, I don't know why I did this, but in my head I was like, I'll buy a house when I could buy it with cash, because then I know I can afford a house.
Right.
And as I was getting older, they had that like real estate boom. And like houses, they just went up so much in price. And I remember like a $200,000 house became a $500,000 house real quick. But like the way they made money didn't go up like that. And like I was like, all of a sudden we were supposed to take this leap, this middle class leap of like a house that was reachable is now a house. When you say $500,000, it used to mean something.
It used to mean like a little estate. You know what I mean? God. Yeah, $500,000.
I'm like, well, then how am I going to save $500,000? Like no one in my family has come. We've never even had savings.
Right.
We've been a check to check family, like, for the most part. So everything seemed insurmountable to me. So when I put all my savings into this bar, and then, it's a good thing, but then I was like trembling,
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it was like learning both things, and it was good. You get thrown into the fire. I think that's the best way to learn. But I didn't get to do like stand up the way I really wanted it until the show was out. I was like, wait a minute, I'm established now. And I can use that to my advantage to, I have security. I could just like start putting more time and efforts into comedy.
But you also didn't have like what most stand-ups have, like where you can do open mics and shit. You were already known.
But I did the mics because you have to. There's no other way to do it.
Of course you have to do it, but hiding, like, you know what I mean? Because you were going to the mics with a TV show.
It was nerve-wracking because people. Because I don't think people really, they don't know that like I want to be a comic since I'm little, how much I like comedy, how much I've written, and how much I wasn't really starting from zero. I've been on stage doing sketch and improv for 20 years, and I do a stage show with the guys that we wrote on mic. So when people, comics, they talk about like, you ask how long you've been a comic, and that kind of sets people into comedy. They put you in a box or an expectation.
It's like the formula, like you're saying.
2-year comic, 4-year, 8-year. Where are you in your career? At 8 years, you should probably be maybe trying to get like, maybe you should start,
By 10 years, you don't have a late night set yet? You know what I
you
mean?
don't have a late night set, or
Yeah.
have you headlined yet, or whatever it is. So for me, it's like throw all that out the window, right? Because people see me coming in, they immediately want me to be funny right away because I'm a celebrity. Or they're like, who's this guy who thinks that he's going to be on TV and then anyone could do comedy, and he's just doing it now as a paycheck, or he's going to use his status to cut us, in line. And that's a real thing. Like, people are out there grinding, and so it's like, nah, because I had to get all my chops up just like you do. I'm not starting from the same spot. I'm also late 30s, so I'm a little bit more of, I know who I am, and knowing your voice is also important to getting quicker to where you need to be on stage. So like, when you start really young, you don't have as much experience, and you just haven't lived as much of a life, and you're still learning who you are, and a lot of that stuff affects your point of view and your comedy. And so like, you have to learn comedy while you're also learning yourself. And even though we're always learning ourselves, you're more sure of a person in your late 30s. So I think all those elements gave me a jump start with like getting on like my material on stage, and like my experience. But nonetheless, I'm not just getting, I even if a good club would look to let me, audition, or just give me a pass, like, whatever club it was, whatever it was, I couldn't do that because I didn't have the material or the chops. So I couldn't even take advantage of that, because the last thing I would want to do is get on stage at even a halfway respected club and then show them that I don't have what it takes. So I still had to build my material, my set, my stage, and so I can buck all the expectations when people see me and they say, oh no, this is a comic. I've seen him out 5 nights a week at 4, 5, 6 spots a night, everywhere from a dive bar to a hole in the wall to like a WeWork to a to anything and everything in between, to a mic where there's 2 other comics and I'm just running my set to no one. Like, it's all necessary. So again, no ego there either. Like, I want to take in everything I can from every comic I meet. I'm actually often surprised at the confidence that younger, inexperienced comics have that I didn't have then, and I still don't possess now. I don't know. That's probably a blessing and a curse, because it is good to have a little humility. But I see some comics that I don't know if it's like they have to put up an air of confidence because it's a defense mechanism, or they want people to perceive them. But I thought I would see much more vulnerability in comics than confidence, and I actually see more confidence. And maybe it's that confidence that allows them to get on stage. I mean, generally a lot of comics are insecure, and they come from a place of that. I have my insecurities, but I think like I'm not like this crazy damaged person that's in that club of comics that was like, oh, it's like therapy, and it's all those things, definitely. But I'm just more of like a happy-go-lucky person that likes to make people laugh.
Yeah,
so
you
I'm not
really
really,
are. Yeah,
picking it up from anything too cynical. Even my like material isn't too cynical. But so like, I don't know, maybe that's why like I come and I'm just like, like, I don't want to step on any toes, and I'm just here to have fun and learn.
You are so much like that is like you, like that is just you as a person. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? And it's funny because like I was saying before, like I've never seen you use your celebrity. I've never seen you like, you know what I mean, flex or whatever. The only time, and it's like such a funny story. The only time you've used your celebrity. So one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on this, and I know we're kind of like, I know you have a.
We didn't even get to skincare.
We're getting to it right now. I'm parlaying, buddy. I'm moving this thing along. I'm moving this train. We were at a party. I met you. It was the first time I met you, and we were at a party, and we're at this, and there was like so many big comics there. Sal's there, Bill Burr's there, like, this and that. And it's like when comics are around other comics, it's like a comedy fest of like out funnying and this and that. And it's all jokes and whatnot. And I remember like we started talking about skincare somehow. You started talking about skincare, and then my husband's like, get my wife down here. Wait till you meet her. And then you and I just bonded over skincare. And I was like, oh my God, my skincare soulmate. And it's a man. And we like, you are so into skincare and self-care. But the funny thing was, I remember like telling you about like, it was so funny because I was like, you only use like Clinique eye cream. Ew, like you're on TV. You have like, you should be using like this eye cream. Like, it was so funny. Like we were just like going back and forth. And I'm part of this like secret skincare group online that is a lot of women in the industry and stuff. And like, we talk about like things that we're doing and skincare and all this stuff. And I remember sitting there and you're like, how do you, and I was like, well, on the skincare board I'm on, and you're like, wait, what board is that? And then we start talking about it, and I tell you that it's like a secret skincare board. It's all female. It's like female comics, females in the industry, producers, directors, that kind of thing. And you go, yeah, get me in there. And I was like, okay. You're like, I want in there.
Yeah,
and so,
it's fun.
I remember messaging the person who runs it, and she listens to this podcast. And I messaged her and I said, hey, can you, I was like, I don't think men are allowed in, but like, but then I was like, there were a few men in there. So who are gay. But anyway, I ended up telling you and texting her, and she messages me back, is he gay? And I go, no. She goes, either you're gay, either you're gay or you're a woman. That's it. And that was like the message. And then you look at me so cute, like so humbly, and you're like, tell them it's TV Sal Vulcano. You're like, put it in there, D. Television Sal Vulcano wants in.
Yes, I was being facetious.
Yeah, I know you're joking, really. But it was, and then I put that in the chat, and then she messaged me back.
You did? I was. Now Tone gets confused over text. I'm totally. I mean, that's me making you laugh. I would never ever truthfully say TV Sal Vulcano.
And I put in the chat, and then she's like, "Last time I checked, Sal wasn't gay," and then that was it. And she like,
well, the internet would disagree with her.
But it was so funny that like, it was so funny because that's the only time you've ever like flexed, and you're like, to get into some secret skincare board. That's like so you funny. Were like, oh, like get me in.
You but, actually, so I wasn't really a guy into skincare at all. I learned about like one of my first serious girlfriends. Was how I learned about even exfoliating. She got me like a exfoliator from the Body Shop.
Okay.
And I used it, and I remember using it, and I was like, oh my God, my skin.
You're like, I feel like God.
And so great. But that's all I knew. I was like, oh, you got to exfoliate. And then for like 20 years, I just exfoliated. And then my girlfriend now like knows a lot more. And so I started to like, just at least use moisturizer. Like, again, very, very simple, But then I started to be like, oh, what products are, and I started to get into like the products a little more when I would look at her as I go to the store. And I started to find some stuff, and then I was just like, all right, so like I'll just put on at least, because I don't want to dry skin, exfoliate. And again, I really didn't have a routine. Okay.
How many steps you doing now? How many steps we into, Sal?
I don't even know if I will exfoliate.
Okay. Are we using an abrasive exfoliator or
well, I used to have an abrasive one.
If you think America loves you because of that TV show right here, you are leveling up. Go ahead. Let's talk about exfoliators.
Yeah. So, well, now I'll exfoliate. Listen, I just watched a YouTube video with Pharrell. I think he has his own skin product line, and he did this whole tutorial. And I was like, wow, Pharrell's doing a tutorial on skin. Like, I'm learning stuff. But when I spoke to you and you were a little bit snobby about your skincare, you made me do a self-check. And so then I wanted to know.
Oh, you did an inventory?
I did. And because you were like, oh, you just kind of get readily available. I'm always just like, oh, what's available at the store? Mm-hmm. I'm never really like, let me go a step further and really like kind of look and read about like ratings and just like I
think my snobby moment was I go, you have 1 million Instagram followers and you're using Clinique eye cream. Like I was a total cunt about it. Like
no, like I was like, oh really? I thought this was good stuff. Like,
and I'm like, no, Sal. I'm nobody, and my eye cream is $90. Okay.
I know. I was like, I was making this effort. Yeah, I always tell my buddies, I say I always spend money on footwear and linens and bedding. Mm-hmm. And things of that nature because you get a big return from them, right? Yeah. We're on our feet and sleeping all the time. And I would like, especially with like the schedule that I keep and the hours like and everything, and I just was like, I gotta, and I'm really should practice more what I preach, but in general, my heart is I should try to take care of myself a little more, right? So then after you said that, I was like, well, I want the good stuff. So, and I have like puffy eyes and I'm like, oh, I never did anything with my eyes. So I started looking into the eye stuff. But now what I'll do is I'll exfoliate and then I'll use a toner and then I'll put on some eye stuff and then I'll moisturize.
Are you into the SK2?
I started using
product. Bitch, look at it. I just re-upped.
I bought a box of 10. I found that you got to be careful though, because if you just go to the wrong place, this could be like $17 and you would be like, oh, I guess that's what it is. And then if you do a little further digging, you can buy a box and it shakes out for like $8.50, which is like half of the price.
Yes,
so you have to be an educated consumer. I learned that.
Also, go on Macy's Friends and Family a lot. SK2 is usually discounted when Macy's has a sale.
Really?
So like, I got these on the Black Friday sale. Yeah.
Okay. So I started so I would do masks. I will say
the fact that you brought products, I want to like implode.
I have all my products here. I have everything.
Oh God, and of course I'm gonna have to let you go soon too, because you have.
I know.
Go ahead. What do we got? Show me everything.
What was a gateway to looking at products a little bit more was when Lush became popular. It was just such an appealing store. They have all these things. You go and you try them, and you're reading it. It's like they really sell that brand. And like someone got me a kit from there, and I started using it. And I think I told you that, and you're like, yeah, that's good too, but like that was an abrasive. The ocean salt from there was pretty abrasive, but this was
good.
It's good, but it is very abrasive.
Yeah.
And this is we talked about this and laughed about this. I'm a crazy person.
Pull out some St. Ives.
But this is not bad. So my girlfriend told me that there might have been a chemical reaction in this over 25 years that I've had it, or 30 years that I've had it. Okay. that she's like, how do you still have that? But I still have the original one that I bought. I bought this at like Save On Drugs for like $3.99, and it still smells exactly the same, and it's delicious. And I just didn't use it, and I forgot I had it. So it was in my medicine cabinet for like a decade, and then I moved. I took it with me, and I forgot it was there. And then I recently rediscovered it, and it seems like everything's still on the up and up with it. It really does.
They loaded out with so much shit. It could probably.
It's probably so bad.
That can probably cure COVID. That's the vaccine.
Yeah, if you read the back, but this thing slaps.
If you rub that on your booty and your legs, I mean, it's great.
It will overhaul you right away. But then you told me that and my girlfriend told me this was like crazy abrasive. So then I was using this much more milder one by Aesop that you also were snobby about.
I was not. Oh, stop! I'm getting a bad rap today.
Yes. So the Aesop one I actually just ran out. So, but that's what I've been using for that.
I like Drunk Elephant. I
know what I'm talking about, but I buy a few products and I try to learn, and that's it.
I love you, and this is why I love you. You and I, our text message thread is us trying to up each other by sending photos of each other with face masks on.
I know.
Like and so whole thread is just.
Well, you recommended these, and I was buying what I'll do is I don't like to commit, so I'll buy like the individual packets, and sometimes they make them so fun. They'll be like a pumpkin, and it's all this special. Like they try to like it's like $7, and it's like there's gold leaf in this shit.
Yeah,
so I put it on.
The Korean ones are like that. They're like some of them are like $12. Yeah, they're very expensive.
They're ridiculous. But I just used to do the ones where you put it on and you like set it and forget it, and then you wash it off with the lid. So my nieces, they loved the Lush stuff, and it'd be like this tingling spearmint thing. And so they'd come to the house, and I'd do a lot of sleepovers with my nieces, and so they'd always want to do it. So like I started doing it like with them, like, and they loved it, and we take pictures, and then we clean our face and everything. So it was like a bonding thing. But I never did the mask, and then I did this one, and this one was the best one I've ever used.
The best one ever. It is the best one ever.
I put it on, and you look like Silence of the Lambs for a couple minutes.
You look like a murderer.
Yeah, and then I took it off. I came out, and my girlfriend was like, I swear to God, I didn't tell her I didn't. She's like, what did you do to your skin? And I was like, I used a freaking hydrating mask.
That Donna Guerrero's, that bitch is snotty, but she knows
this thing penetrates deep.
Yeah.
Really,
and then you know what I do? I like scoop my hands in the packet and
get all the extra juice.
Yeah, get all that juice.
Yeah, I squeeze it out like toothpaste back on to me.
Yeah,
because it's expensive.
Some people take them and re-roll them, put them in the packet, put them in the fridge, and then use them again a few days later for like a little touch up.
That's bold. I'm not at that experience.
If you were in the skincare board, you would know.
I know, but I was rejected.
You're rejected.
So I've been using this toner by Baxter.
Oh, I don't know this. Teach me.
Baxter is but I just ran on that one because I had what I did was True TV subscribed me to this like monthly thing one year where like I got products like hair and skincare products in the mail. It's like almost like a bulk box for like people. you know, like
was it Birchbox?
yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, Birchbox. Okay.
And so I would keep like this little bag of all these samples, and I would keep trying them and seeing what I responded to. Really, right? So I had all these things. So I started.
Now, I love you so much. You have no idea.
That's how I got introduced to it. I have so much stuff here, but so the Baxter I got from there, and it ran out. But this is a toner that I've been using.
We got to get you better at YouTube, buddy. You got to hold it up, put your hand behind it. Let's see it. If you're going to be an influencer.
Yeah.
I love it. No, that's definitely not how you do a vitamin C toner. Ooh, do you spray that?
Yeah, you spray it. And I like that a lot. And then sometimes I'll go to bed and I'll use this. I like a good tea tree.
A little tea tree.
Oh yeah, there you go.
This is a little rose water.
Oh yeah. So I have like ginseng here and a vitamin C splash that I also just do for a midday refresh.
It's a little quick pick me up. You know what I mean?
I like when I could feel it on my skin, like the tingling.
Yeah.
So like a lot of these things have a little like booster in it that you feel tingling. Or this thing overnight, you put it on. I mean, I sound like I'm a skincare guru. I swear to you, I'm not.
You are impressive.
I just bought I listened to you. I bought a bunch of stuff, and then my girlfriend also like I like look at her products. I'll try them, and that's it. I'm not like some crazy, but I will tell you.
I bought you some things too that I'm going to send to your house. I got you.
Did not.
I did. I have a shirt for you from the Donnas,
really?
And I have a little things for you, little gifts for you.
Okay, well I will humbly accept them. But the under eye stuff is really where like it was a whole new level for me.
So I'm currently using. Let me get what I'm using because I'm
like this was like okay, you exfoliate, you put on a little face mask, you got a little moisturizer, a little tea tree or whatever. But like when you start getting into the eye stuff, it can get pricey, and there's so many people competing, and they all have different reviews. And you see some people tell horror stories about how they have reactions or one thing doesn't work. And so what I'm learning is that you really need to try a lot of different things because like different people's skin types react differently to different products. Because you see people rave about a product and the same people say it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, some of these things are going for 40, 50, 60, $100 and you're like, wow.
$90.
Yeah.
Here. It's like
is that skin
SkinCeuticals, yeah.
SkinCeuticals. You love that brand. And I actually want to try their exfoliator actually. They have a very a very fine one.
Have you tried the Drunk Elephant exfoliator yet? It's a chemical exfoliator.
Speaking of Drunk Elephant.
Educate me.
I have the Drunk Elephant. I bought the eye serum.
How do you like it?
I was trying it for a while, and I can't speak to.
Just buy this. I've been telling you to buy this for a year.
Well, then I went and bought Dr. Dennis Gross's Retinol Triple Correction Eye Serum. And I feel like I'm responding to this.
Okay, I just bought Perricone MD's High Potency Classics Firming Eye Lift. I'm going to try this.
Okay.
Over the next few weeks.
I used this for like 2 weeks, and then I was like, all right. I bought them at the same time.
You know what I like to do? I do like a little layering. So I like to put the serum like all around the eye. And then, so what I do is I have a serum too. I actually have a very cheaper serum, which I'll text you. It's by Nuad or Ordinary or something. So I take the eye serum, put that on, and then I take this and put that on top to kind of like seal in the serum.
That's like a Jedi move because when I read was you had to like I thought you had to use just one at a time. That's what I thought.
We layer.
But I thought like you shouldn't mix. Maybe I'm wrong.
We can.
I'll tell you, this doesn't have retinol in it because I read horror stories and I was introducing myself to retinol
around the eye. I'm using retinol. I'm using Retin-A, but I have a prescription for it.
So I was nervous after what I read, and some people put up photos, and they just look like they put their face in front of them. Yeah. So this is my first dabble into the retinol, and I didn't have any adverse reaction to it. So
speaking of retinol, do I have it here? No, it's in my bedroom. Shit. Let me just hurry up. No. God damn it. I don't know where it is. Anyway, it's a retinol by The Ordinary. I think I had it in the living room, maybe. It's wherever I was naked and putting it on my body, probably the living room. But it's a retinol oil that you put on after you get out of the shower for your body. Okay. I had someone.
I haven't gone there yet.
You need to. I was at a comedy show in a tank top, like it was the summer. We were doing comedy shows on the street, and a woman went like this to my arm, and she goes, "Your skin looks so good." And I was like, "Thank you." She goes, "But like the skin on your body matches your face." And I told her, because like, I'm not one of these people who keeps it a secret. First off, I thanked her. I was like, you gave me the most confidence in the world, because she was also like 22 years old. So that just made me feel great, because I was like, you could have been my high school mistake. You know what I mean? Like, I could be your mom. But I was like, I'm using this retin oil. I was like, and I've noticed such a difference that it really, because J-Lo treats the whole bod.
Oh, well, I will tell you, she is, I mean, she's a marvel. The way she looks.
She puts La Mer, like the La Mer face cream.
Yes.
She uses it as body lotion.
Isn't the La Mer one like
$300 a jar?
Yes, I saw that, and it intrigued me. I was curious, and I'm like, could this be worth it? Because a lot of times I also believe that this industry could be like a little bit of a scam too.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I like SkinCeuticals so much, because SkinCeuticals was originally a medical line that was created for patients with skin cancer. And so it has a lot of scientific research behind it.
Oh,
that's why I like it a lot.
But I gotta tell you, J-Lo is a ringing endorsement for that stuff, though, because she
has her own skincare line now. She just came out with it.
It's the thing, right? Everybody has one now.
You're gonna have one.
I
told you when I was with you, I was like, give me your Twitter. Let's just tweet a bunch of companies and get free shit. And you're like, this is how humble you are. You're like, absolutely not. And I was like, now we could have a case of La Mer by Friday. Let's do it. And you're like, D, give me my phone. You're like, no, get the hell out of here. You're not. I would exploit your celebrity. Shit, I'm going to be like, I'm friends with Sal. Send me free shit. Thank you so much for being on this. I have one question for you. I know you have to go. What would you tell little Sal with the microphone running around Staten Island? What would you tell him today?
Oh my God, you're like the guy from Actor Studio right now. It's so funny. You're like, if you see St. Peter at the pearly gates. What would I tell him, man? Jesus. I just would have started this all earlier. I mean, I just can't believe, like, I started it late. I'm thankful that I'm in it, and I'm thankful that I'm where I'm at. But man, I wish I could have cut out the 20 years before this where I didn't go in hard. I go hard early.
Okay.
Like if you're responding to something that you really like just dive in early and just put all your efforts into it. It's just follow that, because not everybody's fortunate enough to their job is something that they feel this way about. So, I mean, I would never change, as much as we talked about, how nerve-wracking it was and risky it was and how fickle the business is and how exposed you are and all that stuff. It's like, I wouldn't change anything. I'm just so lucky. So if I could have got here sooner, I would have. And I don't know if I would have got here. Like, any little thing could have changed every little path, but I don't know. I just I would tell younger people, like, if there's something they really like, just to completely dive into it, immerse yourself in it early. See where it goes. You know what I mean? The worst that happens is that you just have a love affair with something that you do a lot, but I don't know. Yeah. And it's like, just don't put that mic right in the doorway where Dana could see it, because she's gonna kick it. She's gonna kick it, and you're gonna lose a valuable piece of electronics.
Sal, thank you so much for being on this. Thank you for coming and chatting with me, and I love you. I just want everything and more for you, because you.
Thank you. That's so kind of you. I think you're the tops too.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if the people that watch your podcast, they didn't know me, I have I just started 2 new podcasts that are really fun.
Let's plug them, baby.
One is called Hey Babe. I do it with Chris DiStefano. That's
just like sponsored by La Mer.
Maybe we will get it. Maybe we'll get it.
La Mer sponsorship. Throw me on that friends and family list.
I will. I promise you. Chris is like a comic, and we tour a lot together. We're really close, and we have a lot of the same sensibilities, and we have the same sense of humor. So that's us. Just it's a fun combo. And then I do another one. It's a food podcast where I debate and argue about foods. It's called Taste Buds. With my buddy Joe DeRosa, and we that's another friend that we just always arguing about food, and I'm like, let's just do a 30-minute podcast where we it's like Oreos versus Chips Ahoy, pancakes versus waffles, Doritos versus and we just argue, I mean, passionately. Yeah. And at the beginning we put up a Twitter poll, and at the end we check the poll to see who won, and we have a win-loss record. It's fun. It's silly fun, both were born out of the pandemic and just wanting to have a creative outlet, and also wanted to be in control of something, that we do ourselves. So
and you're like me, you like silly. I love silly.
Yeah, I'm a silly goose. I just
you know what would be a good one, a good episode? Cool Ranch versus nacho cheese.
That's very interesting. So what we did was we took Doritos and we put them up against combos. We took Doritos product line as a whole
Not even
against
the
combos.
same family.
Well, you should listen to the. No, we don't have to
I
be in the
think I'm
same
gonna
family.
listen to
Listen,
the
just listen to Taste Buds. You'll see what it's all about. You'll see what it's
Okay,
all
I
about.
will.
But, yeah, so I'm doing those things. So, well, look, I love finding a new audience. So, you know,
Oh, my audience loves food. So yeah, we'll
Yeah.
love you. Yeah, I'm sure they'll love you even more when I'm on an episode. No, I'm joking.
Come on. You can find them both at No Pressure Network on YouTube, and that's everything.
Okay, perfect. I will get all your information. I will put all of this in the episode profile so you guys can go and check it all out. But yes, Sal, thank you.
Thanks, Dee. That was so much fun. Really, really, truly fun. You know, I do a lot of podcasts, and a lot of times the conversation can go down like the same road, but this was like really like a fun, like just a fun conversation like that I don't have often. I talked about stuff.
You're crying.
I really talked about stuff.
You're crying.
Actually, that's the first time that's ever happened to me, I think, on a podcast ever. So yeah. Thanks for getting me emotional. But yeah, love my buddy Doug. So.
Thank you for being emotional, and thank you for sharing that story about your
right on.
I appreciate you.
Yeah,
all right, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Dee.